So, hi, Cole. How are you doing today?
Well, fine, thanks, Nigel. And we release a new one of these every week. And hopefully, if you enjoy it, just press the subscribe and you'll get notified when the next one comes.
Whoa, that's fantastic, Cole. Should we crack on with it?
Yep, great idea, yes.
Hello, this is Nigel.
And Colin with another Encore Years podcast.
This is about retirement and learning to love it.
And today we're very lucky to be talking to Vince, who has had an extraordinary job time, career and retirement, although perhaps he hasn't retired, we don't know, but very much looking forward to talking to Vince.
So, hello, Vince, and how are you doing today?
Extremely well. I think, like everybody else, getting a little bit exhausted with the heat, but I had a wonderful day. I went off to my weekly dancing class in Kingston and cycled from Twickenham. Absolutely wonderful down by the river with a light breeze and lots of people enjoying themselves, and perhaps a little too dangerously around the river. But anyway, it was great to be down there.
It sounds blissful. It is a lovely spot. So, if I can start by asking, if you consider you've ever retired, what did you do before retiring?
Well, I was the local MP, Twickenham, and I was also leader of the Lib Dems at the time, but I'd made it very clear that that was a temporary appointment until they found a younger person to fight the next election. And that having been sorted, I made a decision to stand down at the next election that was called at the end of 2019. So to some extent, I was anticipating all of this. And since I wasn't quite 80 at the time, I took the view that I was young enough to start a new career, which is what I've been trying to do.
So, what's your new career?
Well, it's a mixture of things. I do a lot of writing. I've written quite a few books, and I wanted to embark on several new projects with my book publishers. I've got an attachment to the London School of Economics and also local St Mary's University in Twickenham, where I do an occasional lecture, but benefit from the association. And in addition to that, I chair some businesses in renewable energy, one on hydrogen, another a consortium of companies doing batteries for lorries. So I have what you might call a portfolio existence.
Yes, I've heard that expression. So, you've never really retired, have you? You've just gone from
No,
one
not
career
at all. I've got more control over my time. I'm no longer dependent on bells ringing in the House of Commons and the regular need to attend local surgeries and local events. But yeah, I work hard, but my time is my own.
Yes, well, so there was a big change really when you finished your political career, and now you're starting your new career.
I think the most intense period I had was when I was a member of the cabinet. I was Secretary of State in the coalition, and I had 5 years as business secretary. And I was 67 when I started and ran through to my early 70s. And it was very satisfying, probably the most useful and worthwhile thing I've ever done. But it was pretty
Great.
exhausting. Being the MP is less demanding and in many ways a very pleasurable role. Being party leader, I didn't enjoy. You get caught up in massive amounts of office politics. So I was very glad to be able to hand that over to somebody else and start, as I said, a new career or set of careers.
Yes, that's very interesting. So, what so far in your retirement, so to speak, do you consider to be your best achievement, biggest achievement?
I was overtaken in the first few months by the COVID pandemic, which I think, as with all of us, that is quite a long way. But I suppose the main concrete achievement that I can point to is I've produced 3 new books, 2 of which is How to Be a Politician, which was published by Penguin, and the book I've more recently published called The Eclipsing of the West by Manchester University Press have both been successful in publications terms, and I've spent lots of time going around the world promoting them in book fairs, mainly in the UK, but as far as India. And yeah, I consider that to be a success. And I've also, got a, very happy home life and family, lovely wife, and I make sure that we spend plenty of time. And having a what you call a retired existence, I think that it's getting the mixture of private and public right.
Yes. Yeah, that's very important. But I can imagine how satisfying it must be to go around the world promoting your book. It must be really exciting.
Well, it is. The great thing about literary festivals, the biggest one I've done was in Jaipur in India, and I do a lot in around the UK in the last few weeks in Leeds, Bradford, Huddersfield, others, is that whereas in politics, you're considered to be somewhat slimy being a politician, or I don't know whether the right word, but people rather disapprove of it. But when you appear as a politician at a book festival, people actually pay to come and hear you speak, which is a unique and rather uplifting experience.
It must be, yes.
So let me ask a question then, Vince. Advice you'd give. So if you're meeting a friend who says, I'm going to stop work at Christmas, I'm going to leave my job, what advice would you give?
Well, I think the advice I would give them is don't. And the worst thing to think about is age. I mean, just assume you keep going mentally and physically, do it in a planned way. I do meet friends who are somehow proud of having retired, and they talk about they're going to spend time in the garden and help with household repairs. After a few months, they somehow start to shrivel. They've run out of ambition and energy, and I think that really is not the way to deal with it. I think the way to deal with it is to have some clear objectives that you want to achieve, whether they're family-based or professional, and pursue them as energetically as you did when you were fully working. That's the advice I would give.
That's very, very clear. Thank you very much. So, what's next for you, Vince?
What's next?
Yeah,
Well, I'm talking to the publisher about another book. The
yeah.
big event coming up is I'm going to China in the autumn. I've got an attachment to two Chinese universities, and they want me to give lectures there. And I'm also, surprising as it may seem, a Chinese social media influencer. I've got about 200,000 followers, and they benefit and constantly feed questions to me, and I want to build that up. I'm rather less successful with social media in the UK, so I've just been for a short course on how to use Substack, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, how to use them effectively with pictures and so on, and hopefully be a bit more effective in social media outreach here. So that's what's next.
So, how many followers did you say in China?
About 200,000. And it's
200.
yeah, yeah. My target is 1 million.
My goodness me, that sounds an awful lot.
Because I've got a team of people in Beijing who, well, it's a team partly in Cambridge and partly in Beijing, and they help curate my material and also try to make sure I stay within the red lines, because as you can imagine, the Chinese so-called Great Firewall is there to stop things coming in that they disapprove of. I've fallen foul of the censors once or twice already, but we're keeping going and expanding followership.
Well, congratulations for that. But is your lecture purely on politics?
Well, it's not party politics. They're rather careful to make sure I don't make aggressive comments on Chinese politics, but they do ask me a lot about how British politics works, which I think is subversive in a good way, because I'm describing to them how a democratic system operates and, how we have pre-elections. I don't lecture them and say, you've got to change over to that system, but I think merely understanding that we have such a system here, then it works, and it has a strong upside in the amount of feedback that rulers get from the public. I think that's quite an important message.
I think it's a great message. But are they ever surprised?
Well, I think they're surprised on two levels. I think one is that the most popular program on British politics in China is Yes Minister. And so the question is this the way British government and politics really operates? And I try to correct that.
Say yes, do you?
So, no, I think that is the main thing. The other issue which they find strange and interesting is that they've never encountered an active or retired politician in China being willing to engage in dialogue with people through social media. It doesn't happen. The
Right.
government, the Politburo, whatever, people make announcements, but they don't engage, particularly with younger people. It doesn't happen. And even though I'm a foreigner, the fact that I'm willing to engage with people and I'm a normal human being, they find surprising and, great. So, that's partly why my followership has built up.
That's a fantastic opportunity to go out and talk to two universities. That's and is that because of your book or your political background?
Yes, I'm happy to describe to them my slightly complicated political journey and the fact that there are real differences between conservatives, liberals, socialists, and, the other varieties of politicians. This is, of course, not what happens in China.
Yes. And are there any other countries that are interested in hearing from you?
I do quite a lot of stuff in India. That's for different reasons. My involvement in India goes back 60 years. I first went there on a student overland and traveled across India. And
Wow.
then a year or so later, I married somebody of Indian heritage. We're very happily married. She died, unfortunately, some years ago. But I
Oh,
keep in touch with her family in Goa and Mumbai, and also
mhm.
do quite a lot of professional economic work with Indian universities and scholars. So I love going to India. It's, I think, my favorite country after the UK. So whenever I get an opportunity for a business visit or a literary festival, I'm out there.
It's such an interesting life you lead. Is there anything else you'd like to tell us about your life?
Well, I think the thing that I would stress is the importance of your relationships. I'm very fortunate in mine. Other people have, caring for an older spouse, for example, and that's something they have to prioritize. I'm lucky I don't have that problem. But to the extent to which I'm free to choose what I do, I would say it's terribly important to keep mentally fit. And that means doing
Yeah.
some things and challenging stuff, but also keep physically fit. I spend a lot of time in the gym, dancing, cycling. I think it annoys my wife the extent to which I'm rushing around all the time doing these things. But I think it is very important to keep your muscles strong and so on. I think these are probably rather obvious points, but
Yeah.
that certainly works for me anyway.
I think, Vince, that is wonderful. So what we're going to do, sum this up, and then we'll send it to you to make sure you're happy with it, and then we'll get it out on the socials. Right.
Good.
Thank you very much for your time.
Yeah, that's very, very kind of you and most
Okay.
interesting and different
Uh,
from any other interview we've done so far.
all right. Okay. Well, I hope not in a bad way, but
Certainly not.
okay. Okay. Well, thank you.
Fine.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye
Are we
bye.
all done now?
We're all done, Carl. Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye,
Bye bye.
Vince. Bye. Do you know what, Colin? The people we meet and the things we hear about what they're doing is just, a 40-year-old wouldn't be doing this volume of work.
Yeah, absolutely right, Nigel. And Vince is in his 80s. I'm sure he doesn't mind us saying that.
Big advice to everyone is don't retire. He said he meets so many people retire and they want to repair the house and do a bit of the garden. And in his words, he says after a few months, they shrivel. And you should have clear objectives of learning and doing and pursue them with energy.
Yeah, wonderful to hear. And remember, Nigel, this guy was the leader of a major UK political party for several years. So
Yes.
if he wanted to stop and do nothing, I'm sure he could, doing the opposite.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And also, he's stressed the importance of keeping fit, first of all, physically. And he's well known for dancing. And in fact, even today, he's been to a dancing class and he cycled there quite a long way and quite a long way back, and goes to the gym and does many other physical activities.
Yep. And he also said mentally fit. And he talked about his 1,000 followers in China. You'd be absolutely huge. But not only that, he's just been on a course to learn about the different socials and how you use them. So again, he's not sitting back, he's getting involved.
And how does that compare with the number of your followers?
We're getting there, Nige.
And also, he travels to India and China for work, and he's written 3 books and he promotes those about politics.
Yeah, and he chairs this renewable energy company who look at batteries for commercial vehicles. So again, it's a terrific thing to be doing.
And he said at the base of this, you must have a happy and supportive family, which he has. And he's very happy to have that.
Yeah, but gosh, we could go on all afternoon, but I think we've summed that up quite nicely, Nige.
And as I said before, we have met and chatted to such amazing people. I think that was probably one of the best interviews we've done.
One of our best ones, definitely.
Yeah.
And what you always remind me is the little subscribe button on the bottom.
Oh, you always forget, and so did I.
Always forget.
Press the button.
Press that button. Cost you nothing. You'll get lots of these coming to you if you press the button.
And you'll make Colin very happy.
Very happy. So, are we all done, Nige?
I think we're done. I think it's over and out from the Encore years.
Encore and out from me too. Right?
And from me.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.